Hello, I welcome you all in the lecture series of memory, and today we are going to talk about the episodic memory processing. In previous lecture we discussed about the episodic memory and semantic memory in detail. While talking about the nature of episodic memory and semantic memory in detail, we were talking about the autobiographical memory. The reason for such introduction was that all types of episodic memory will be type of the autobiographical memory, but all types of autobiographical memory cannot be part of the episodic memory. Autobiographical memory can be seen as a big personal, episodic and self-referential memory, which is an umbrella term which comprises of not only the episodic memory but the semantic memory. Now we have to understand that this form of memory is a direct form of memory, declarative form of memory, plays a major role in individual's life. So if you see this cartoon, it depicts your birth date, the day when we were born, but that form of memory we haven't formed we haven't experienced it, we haven't formed that memory or documented that event into our memory. However, it with reference to ourselves, that is a form of a memory which leads towards a meaningful incident in our life. Hence this form of memory is a self-referential semantic memory. So in an individual life, in a person's life, there are a form of memory which are self-referential form of memory and do not only hold the meaningful information but also being a part of an autobiographical memory. Now the reason for me to introduce you again these two forms of memory, because the upcoming topic on self-reference is going to be very important topic in the episodic memory. In the previous lecture we even discussed about the different brain regions and neuronal structures contributing in the formation of episodic memory, semantic memory and the autobiographical memory. Now the self-referential semantic memory, when we were talking about it, there is an concept and idea about the self-reference effect. Now this self-reference effect is referring to ourself and the observation that links to be the learned information to personal relevant information about oneself, and this actually holds the information strongly, consolidate the information strongly into one's memory system. The moment an individual attach the information with his self or herself, then the information bonding robustness increases in nature. In normal setting, generally when we form a memory, we do not attach a lot of incoming information to oneself. However, some information which we would like to register, consolidate for a long period of time, we try to associate that information with our self. So it has been documented and shown when a list of personality trait is given to an individual, and these list of personality trait an individual is recalling or recollecting, and at that time of the recollection or recalling, these personality trait matches with an individual's personality, then the robustness and the attachment and association or consolidation becomes more promising and robust in nature. Now the reason being, we all are familiar with our personality traits, and as per the psychological theories, there are different types of personality traits. It is very difficult for an individual to remember all types of personality traits. However, those personality traits which resembles our own personality becomes easy for us to remember. Even sometimes when an individual is encoding these personality traits, if these personality traits are being referred to our dear ones, then also the list of items are being registered robustly. For instance, not only the list of personality trait is presented to you, but out of this personality trait listing, if some of those personality traits are matching with your siblings, some of those personality traits matching with your parents, then those personality traits also an individual will encode. So it could be seen as at the center, if you are keeping yourself, the self personality trait is there, and at the surface, if we there is another circle where you are keeping your dear one's personality trait, then the encoding of this information will be robust, and then comes the part where you are keeping the acquaintances also. So if these types of this is how the separation, segregation and categorization is happening. So information related to self will be encoded, consolidated robustly, then the information which is encoded and consolidated for the dear ones will be better than the acquaintances information. Now what has been seen in this regard is that the activation of the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex shown an activation in this regard. Why these things are being seen increased activity? Because the personality trait matching could be not only the simple association, but it could be a reward system, or it could be activating the achievement, that okay, there is a personality match trait where I could recognize such personality in and having a reflection of these personality in myself. As a result, the reward system, anterior cingulate cortex, is getting activated. The self reference effect is activating the prefrontal cortex and ACC, other than the normal brain structures, which are the prefrontal cortex and the temporal lobe, as we discussed in the previous lecture. Now prefrontal cortex is getting activated because the execution is required, and then this execution of information of the personality trait list is that the categorization, segregation, distinctness is required, where an individual has to ensure which type of personality trait belongs to me, and which type of personality trait belongs to my dear ones, and which personality trait belongs to the acquaintances. And as a result, there is a scale which an individual form for his self reference understanding. Okay. Now moving further, researchers working in the area of episodic memory and semantic memory suggested that there is also concept like generation effect, where an individual has to generate the information, and here the generation of information where an individual is making it, they are simply making the generation based on the association which one has simply formed with the reading. So in this idea, there are two types of generation of information could happen. One type of generation of information, an individual is reading a text and then he or she is generating the concept and information, and in another case he is doing the free generation call, where he just have to generate the item rather than changing many other things. So here you could read the word like rose and hose. So the acoustic similarity is there, semantic similarity is not there. So acoustic similarity generation may not require that much effort in the generation, however semantic similarity may require the may require some effort. For instance, when we have to generate the condition, then mash and crash. So this is a acoustic similarity rather than semantic similarity. Then when we are talking about the acoustic similarity, because we are proposing the sound similarity is there, that is why acoustic similarity is being seen here. Then semantic related to meaningful similarity. Then another type of similarity is there, which is known as articulatory similarity. So the articulation is going to be similar in this regard. Okay. Now when we are talking about the enactment effect, enactment effect is same as the idea is in the similar direction of the generation effect, where an individual has to generate freely, then he or she generate based on acoustic similarity, semantic similarity, or articulatory similarity. But enactment suggests that performed tasks are remembered better than those are simply read. For instance, when I say cut the paper, when you are reading this, cut the paper, versus when you are cutting the paper, when you are performing the action. So, what we see, when you are performing the action versus when you are reading the action, the performed action is going to be more robust in the memory formation than just reading the text. Now, such understanding has been established already, and in many scenarios, in many conditions, what we have seen that the practical exposure, practical experience is having a robust effect than just reading the information. And that is why when an individual joins any industry, joins any bigger organization, then the practical training is also being provided along with the training manual. Training manual could be people might have read it, may have understood it, but at the time of execution of the task they may not recollect it, they may not retrieve it 100%. This is what we have earlier understood also, that the retrieval of information cannot be 100%. One cannot be so sure that 100% information can be retrieved. Based on individual to individual, the retrieval depends. Hence, that is why the enactment effect put an emphasis upon that the action performed versus reading the action is different, and performed action seems to have better robust forms a robust memory than the reading the test. So, here what you see, percentage of target recalled. So, the generation of these percentage of target recall is easy to do rather than when an individual has to do the reading, just like you read the condition of rose hose and then you have to generate a condition mash crash. Okay. Taking you further in this direction, let us understand the idea of episodic memory and semantic memory with perspective of organization. Now, we know what perception does to the incoming sensory information in the human brain. It not only provides meaning to the incoming sensory information, but it also tries to organize them as per the need of the individual. So, the individual makes several subcategories or categories, major categories, and these information is being provided in these different categories. So, when we are talking about the categories of fruit, the categories of vegetables, the categories of profession, separate categories is being formed, separate categories is being organized, and when the incoming information is there from the sensory register, so based on this the information classification, based on this information categorization, based on this information organization starts to happen. So, organization means imposing a meaningful structure on to be learned material. So, whatever material we are planning to learn, the organization ensures that a meaningful categorization or organization is formed. Now, we know that about the organization from the discipline of organizational psychology, that in an organization more than 100 employees are there. So, what do these 100 employees do? There are small subunits, subsections, substations are there, subsystems are there, where these 100 employees are being distributed as per their skills and abilities and the nature of the task. Similarly, when the incoming information is 100 or 100 plus information is coming, we provide a meaningful structure to these different categories and we try to pass this information. So, if the fruit, if we are making a category of fruit, vegetable, profession, and the incoming stimuli is the tomato, then tomato will be falling into the category of fruit or vegetable. We do this organization and we put them into the specific category. Now, it causes the learners to focus on the meaning of the material. Once you have formed a category, it provides an specific focus to the readers, to the learners, and provides an easiness. Always remember one thing, the topic like memory we are studying to optimize our memory system. The topic like memory we are studying to enhance our awareness. the topic like memory we are studying to understand the nature of memory and the type of memories which are playing role under different scenarios under different time point. Such understanding gives a user to make not only to form a robust memory, but also provides a user to understand the nature and complexity of the incoming information, their categorization, organization and distinctiveness. So, when it increases the depth of processing, it also an effective way to improve the encoding. What does this mean? Depth of processing. If you remember previous lecture, we have been discussing about the rehearsal and then elaborative rehearsal. Elaborative rehearsal is providing elaborative information to the incoming sensory information. As a result, the encoding become robust, the storage become robust. When the encoding and storage is robust in nature, then the retrieval of information becomes robust in nature. Now, such understanding gives us an clear support and an insight that the even in the organization, when there is a depth of processing is involved, then there is a way to improve the encoding. The whole purpose for such processing, elaborative rehearsal or depth of processing, is to improve the encoding process. How can we enhance, promote the encoding process? How can we enhance and promote the storage process? The reason being why we would like to promote the encoding and the storage process is because the environment in which we are living is poorly designed. The environment in which we are living is having bad cues which fails to aid the memory system. As a result, in order to improve this, the elaborative rehearsal or depth of processing can be a simple tool to make the encoding and storage process more robust in nature. Another aspect is the distinctiveness. So, when we are talking about the distinctiveness, the uniqueness which we are talking about, so unique meaning of each item. If we see the categories here, like fruit category, vegetable category or profession category, let me take only one simple category such as the fruit category. So, if we are taking the fruit category, the apple, orange, mango, banana, blood, pineapple, watermelon. Just see this fruit category: apple, orange, mango, banana, blood, pineapple, watermelon. Among these fruit list, in the category of fruits, there is a fruit list. These fruit lists are there, but the word like blood is very unique and very distinct from the other. Blood is not a fruit. Blood is a liquid which supports life, but this blood is a unique word and distinct word here. So, at the time of recall, when we talk about, the people will be able to recollect blood quite easily and quite frequently than the other list of the fruit category. Similarly, if you see an example here listed here on your screen, is the action like jump, hop, fly, swim, crawl, putter, vomit, run, skip, skate, flip. Now, the vomit is going to be separated out easily. You may select it, and because of its unique and distinct characteristics of this action. Vomit is an action which most of us has encountered and have an unpleasant feeling about it. So, the moment we experience this, the uniqueness of this action is being separated out. Similarly, like the category of fruit list, we identify the word blood. So, the advantage of distinctive items have over less distinctive item is known as von Resthoff effect. Now, von Resthoff effect was being given by Resthoff in early 1933. Her work has given a direction towards the organization and distinctiveness, and talking about the isolation effect, because here the word like blood is isolated among the list of the other items. The word vomit is and been isolated among the list of the action word. Now, But the time, as I mentioned, Rostov, when she was working in 1933, the action by the this Hitler's army, she has been being stopped from working. The anti-Jewish movement was there. As a result, her excellent work seems to be limited and has been isolated and has been received less attention by the memory researchers. But today we understand her idea, her concept, her understanding about the distinctiveness gave us a lot of insight about such aspects. So when she gave this concept of Rostov effect and isolation effect, we understood that how this isolation is happening in the list of the items here, what you see in the list. And the reason and also the Rostov effect implicates that when such uniqueness and distinctiveness is there in the list of the items, these list and these items seems to be stand out, just like when you see a cartoon here where the red person is standing out among the blue standees. So such aspects, such phenomena, such process, people can use it and has been using it in the discipline of human factor engineering, where the uniqueness of the system function, where the uniqueness and distinctiveness of the system function is being highlighted, so that an individual does not have to put too much effort in the identification of such item. Let me spend some time here on inhibition in the episodic memory. I remember we have discussed about the collaborative inhibition. So collaborative inhibition, some of those terms, some of those facts and information we may be discussing and revisiting again in couple of slides. So if we see, if we talk about the inhibition on episodic memory, previously we discussed about it, how the collaborative memory leads towards the collaborative inhibition. Inhibition is nothing but it is an actively interfering and reduces the likelihood of the recall. So at the time of recall, when some information need to be recalled, there is an interference because of the present information, or because of the learned information, or because of the already available information. Such information tries to inhibit the recall, and such blockage or inhibition affects the performance of an individual. So when you are retrieving about your personal information, then the already available information may either interfere, or the currently available information may interfere with the episodic memory. As a result, the inhibition happens. So retrieval induced inhibition, when we talk about here, very simple thing is there, when you are retrieving the information, then this retrieval of information interferes with the retrieval of other related information. So which means that if the retrieval 1 is happening, then and retrieval 2 is happening, then this retrieval 1 is going to inhibit the retrieval 2 information. Such inhibition seems to be playing role, and the reason could be because of several reasons. The nature of the information, the robustness of the information, the boundary conditions of the memory even come into play, where we talk about the sensory stimuli, saliency of the stimuli, expectancy, effort, where an individual is putting an effort to recollect or recall. So such inhibition which we are seeing is quite common and seems to have affect the episodic memory. So Anderson and group in 1994, they gave the list, a word list to the individuals and just asked them to engage it in the retrieval practice. So they just have to retrieve the practice the items. So this is retrieval practice plus, where the targeted items from the practice category is there, and then there was retrieval practice minus, where the target items were unpracticed categories were there. So they do not have to practice those items of the list. And then there was the NRP, where the non-practice category was there. they don't have to practice the items were not the target items were there from the non-practice category which they haven't practiced. Now when we talk about these practice plus, practice minus and non-practice retrieval trials, we see the recall, how the recall will be altered, changed based on these three categories of information. Definitely when we are talking about the RP plus, retrieval practice plus, then we see retrieval practice is positive in nature, which means it is the items are being retrieved, the target items are there from the practice category. So the performance of the recall will be higher, which you can see here is quite obvious. It is not unique in its form, because we know if the items are coming from the practice category, then the frequency of it, familiarity of it, dominance of it is going to aid us in the recall. However, in the case of the RP minus, the retrieval practice is being performed from the non-practice unpracticed item. The unpracticed item list is there, you haven't practiced it. In that case, the familiarity is not there, frequency is not there, dominance is not there. So the performance will be affected, which you can see is happening right here. So there is a big difference here. The controlled group here, the control group which we are having non-practiced category is there, where the practice is being not performed at all. There we see the retrieval of this is there, which is almost like roughly little higher than the retrieval practice minus items. Two reasons are there for such distinct nature of this pattern, could be familiarity and frequency of the item. Now the familiarity and frequency of the item from the unpracticed category should be little higher, from this category should be higher than the non-practiced category. However, because the non-practiced category item is totally relying on the free recall, as a result the recall is getting better. But in the RP minus category, the recall has to be dependent from the category, which is limiting and inhibiting the retrieval process. Hence we have been discussing this thing in previous lecture, that when the free recall is there, it seems that the performance is better. So this difference what we are noticing here is because of the free generation. Okay. Taking you further down the line about the inhibition, another form of inhibition is the part set queuing. So which means that when people have studied some information in a set, already learned information is there, but not all of it. So this inhibition on the unstudied item is seen. So what we remember is that there is a learned information, and this learned information, when people are studying this some information, the inhibition starts to happening because of the set of information which is already present there. So when this happens, this we have seen in learning L1 versus L2 language, when an individual is forming the L1 category and L2 category is there. L1 category, when we are talking about, this is our mother tongue or native language. Now when you learn the next new forming a new category, this new category is going to interfere with the previous available category. And this interference is because of the set of the items. Now when we talk about the small list of items, when we are retrieving the list of items, this list interferes with the retrieving of the other parts of the list. So what we are seeing here in the part queuing, part set queuing, is that whatever we have learned previously is trying to be getting interfered with the new learning items. Now in many cases what we have seen, if we leave the language context aside, then in the cognitive psychology domain, what we have seen, the part set queuing for the letters depend upon not only on the frequency, dominance and familiarity, but also it depends on the rare words, unique words, emotional words. So these are these categories provide uniqueness to the set of list items. Another form of inhibition is there, directed forgetting, where an individual is being directed to forget. Why an individual is why is it required to for us to direct an individual to forget an information? If we take a scenario of an individual suffering from post traumatic stress disorder or an individual having a panic disorder, in these scenarios, in these cases, an individual is having a pathological memory, and a simple cue for a war veteran like doorbell can trigger his trauma about the war field, or a perfume smell can trigger the trauma of a young individual kid about his childhood molestation. Now such traumatic individuals face their life become living hell. As a result, in order to provide an aid, therapists, memory researchers and many more scientists across the globe have tried to come up with novel intervention method. There are several novel interventions in current date, such as neurostimulation procedure, imagery re-scripting, cognitive control, cognitive behavioral therapy, exposure therapy, etc. and etc. But here in relation to memory, we talk about the directed forgetting. So the researchers give a direction to the individual how they can forget the information which is pathological in nature. Now always remember one thing, you can direct an individual and you can make them train to overcome the pathological memory. However, if you give them a drug, if you give them a high stimulation, if you adopt a high stimulation procedure such as ECT, then these types of intervention leads towards amnesia. And when the amnesia happens, then there is not only a loss of information is there, or a specific loss of information is there, but the information associated with that specific information could be vast in nature, and we do not have a clear understanding what is the vastness and projection and association of that specific information with the other information. So a word, simple word like bank can be referred as river bank or can be referred as money bank. Now if any of these things we are talking about, these two banks, they are distinct with each other, but they are connected with each other. And now if you have been traumatized at river bank, and if pharmacological method or ECT method is being used to block this trauma, then remember one thing, that this river bank is also having some projection to this money bank. So complete blockage of this may also block this stream, and when this stream will be blocked, then there is a total loss of information. As a result, people the individual suffering from this memory loss may lose a major portion of his or her life. Now we do not know how far this projection goes, or how far this projection is connected to the other information, and blockage of this information may indirectly be blocking this information as well. And when two informations are being blocked permanently, then the information associated with them will be blocked permanently as well, or the projection from this to the other nature of the information to the other information will also be blocked. So this is how these things are there. So, in a typical directed forgetting paradigm, participants are given a list of words to remember, and then the experimenter instructs the participant to forget that list and then gives the participant new list to remember. So, this list, but what we have seen, the remembrance of first list, if you remember, earlier we were talking about the primacy and recency effect. Whenever there is a primacy, then the information is entering into your long term memory, and whenever we talk about the recency, we are talking about the working memory involvement. So, when the forgetting of first list is being the instruction is given to us, by the time we are saying that forget the list 1, some of those items has been already transferred into your long term memory. So, because of this primacy effect, some robustness will be there, and when the recall or retrieval is there, some of those information will be retrieved or recollected. Now, so when we are saying directed forgetting, so directed forgetting does not mean that there will be 100% forgetting is going to happen, 100% erasure of information, 100% inhibition of information is going to happen. So, the group is given instruction to forget the experience, poor recall performance, then do with the groups who were given the instructions to forget. So, the very simple experiment researchers performed, 2 lists were given to them, list 1 and list 2, and when the instruction was given forget this list, then people perform better in recalling this list. However, when the instruction was not given to them, do not forget the list, just remember this list, now remember the new list, and when the recall is being suggested, then what we saw that there is an interference from the list 1. Now, let me talk to you about the prospective memory. When we talk about the prospective memory, it is a form of memory which is talking about the future plans, what we are going to do in future. In future, there is one has to prepare a to do list, item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5. These items need to be performed sequentially, these items need to be performed unsequentially, that is different type of story. However, the future plan is already being laid out to you, and how the execution has to be performed, that is going to be talked in the prospective memory. So, prospective memory deals with the future plans, and in training and in engineering discipline, prospective memory application is immense. Before, as I was telling you earlier, that reading a manual versus practical use of the manual are two different things. So, once you read a future plan, that might be different, and once you execute the future plan, that will be different. So, participants are given a designated target task, such as remembering to remove cupcakes from an oven. Very simple task has been given. It could involve 3 steps, it could involve 4 steps, depending upon the individual, depending upon the individual experiences, the prospective memory may change. If you are familiar with the task, then your future plan may be short, may be quick and robust and is specific in nature. However, if you are not familiar with the task, then future plan may go extended, may require some more effort. Then participants were asked to occupy with the other task at the same time. So, when there are 2 different tasks are given, then people tend to make the plan as per their preference list, and that is why the to do list is there in every researcher's desk, in every teacher's desk. What I have to do today. The alternate task is intended to remove the designated target task from the working memory, and the reason is that already in the future plan, the people have to hold information in their working memory till they execute the task. So, an alternative task is being provided so that the target task get removed, get interfered with the from the working memory. Now, in the presence of competing attentional demand, prospective memory performance can decline rapidly. What does this mean? This means very simply that there is an attentional control, there is an attentional processing, there is an attentional resources required. When when there is a competition between the attentional demand, then the future plan and the performance on it can decline rapidly. What does that mean? Is that imagine a scenario where you have an exam 1 and then you have exam 2. Both the exams are on the same date. Now, which paper you put more emphasis, which paper you do not pay more emphasis, depends on the nature of the paper itself and depends on your preparation and practice towards that exam. Based on such understanding, you divide your attention, and once the attention has been divided, then these two attentional systems could be more, could be less, attention 1 could be more, attention 2 could be more, and attention 1 could be more and attention 2 will be less, or vice versa. Based on these attentional system, the performance is also going to be varied. What we have seen is that as the attentional system is being divided, the prospective memory performance decreases. So, we discussed about the prefrontal lobe, which is critical in performing the prospective memory task. Why prospective memory task is there? Because the relationship of attentional resources with the prospective memory clearly indicates that the prefrontal lobe coordination with the prospective memory task, because attentional system is being governed by the prefrontal cortex. So, the direct relationship could be established here, that because attentional system is there in the prospective memory performance, so frontal cortex is having the direct role here in the prospective memory performance. Now, let me summarize this presentation. What we have studied is the self-referencing effect. Self-referencing effect, earlier we studied in the autobiographical memory, and self-referencing semantic memory plays a crucial role. The moment we bring ourself into the learning of the information, consolidation of the information, the robustness, consolidation of experience increases. We tend to remember information more the moment we have referenced this information to ourselves. Then in another aspect we discussed about the generation effect. More and more we generate, it depends on the several processes. First type of generation, free generation call, free recall is there, and in another we are doing the generation based on read only condition. You read only and then you generate, such as rash, hash, bash, crash. So, if this is a reading condition, so we have to generate bash and crash. Then we talked about the organization of information and the distinctiveness of the information. How the organization is happening, how are we organizing the information. In the organization of information, we are particular about the encoding of information, how the encoding is happening and the nature of encoding. If the information is self-referenced, then the organization is performing better, and we can make the several categories, we make the several categorization, and in this categorization the list of items which are present in each organization, if they have a unique characteristics, like we give you an example of fruit and in middle the blood is coming, that distinctiveness, that uniqueness is providing a specificity of the retrieval of that particular information. So, the nature of the information present in that stimuli is so high that the user or the participant doesn't have to put an effort in the retrieval. Then we discussed about the inhibition in episodic memory, how the inhibition is getting affected, and then we were discussing that there are several parameters in which the prior learned list is interfering with the upcoming information, or the retrieval of one information is blocking the other retrieval information, and in doing so there is a part set queuing effect is there, then the part list effect is there. While talking about this inhibition, we even talked about the directed forgetting. An individual has to be directed to forget an information so that he or she may overcome the pathological memory or learning process. And finally, we discussed about the future memory planning or future plan, that is the prospective memory. The task which has to be executed in future, we plan them, we make a sequence of it, maximizing the bottom up processes which help in the future planning. If we are familiar, if we are dominant of that information, it provides an aid in our planning system. Okay, let me stop here, and in the next lecture we are going to continue talking about the episodic memory. Thank you.